Hello you lot, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do, for a change, something sweet, very sweet. I'm going to make chocolate fudge cake, aka death by chocolate. And we've got Wendy Welsh to blame for this. She requested it, and I thought, well, yeah, actually, why not? I haven't done sweet things very much recently. And I mentioned it to Mrs. KeefCooks, and, well, she said, let's just say she gave it her blessing. So, if you enjoy this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, etc. And let's get on with it. We're going to make the cakes first, so I've got my ingredients. I've got 175 grams each of softened butter, caster sugar, powdered sugar, and plain all-purpose flour. I've got 50 grams of golden syrup, I've got 3 eggs, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 50 grams of cocoa, and just enough milk to get the right consistency. The cocoa, you want 100% pure cocoa, don't get anything that's got like sugar or anything added to it. And there we go, need to get mixing. First thing to do is cream together the butter and the sugar, so I'll pop them in my stand mixer bowl. You can use electric hand whisk, or you can do it by hand. Good luck with that. Of course you can do it by hand, my mother used to all the time. When that mixture is light and fluffy, you can start adding the eggs one at a time and get each one incorporated before you add the next. You might find the mixture is sticking to the paddle or the bowl, in which case use a spatula to, clear it off, push it down and get it going again. Now we need to add the flour and the cocoa. I'm going to sift them because they might be a bit lumpy. Okay, and I'll put the chute thing onto the KitchenAid so that I can get these in without making a mess. Don't do that at home. Try that again, shall we? Now I'll add the baking powder and the golden syrup. I'll do that by hand. Little trick, if it doesn't flow properly, place it in a bowl of hot water for a bit. Okay, okay, that worked. I'll just try and stir that in. This is really thick. So that's why we have the milk. We might need more than this. You're looking for a consistency where if you've got some on a spoon or a spatula, it'll drop off. So that's going nowhere. So a bit more milk. Right, I think we're there. I did it before. Come on. Okay, I give in. I'll put the last fragment of, fraction, teeny little bit of milk in. Alright, I reckon this is it. Come on. Bit glacial, but it's going. It's gone. Okay, lovely. So, now you need your oven. In fact, you did this 10 minutes ago. You put your oven on to preheat to 160 degrees Celsius for a fan oven, convection oven. That's 180 for a normal one, and that is gas 4. So basically you need 2 cakes. In a perfect world I would have 2 cake tins the same size. I haven't. I've got this one which is, it might actually be 20 centimetres and this one might be 19 or 18. I'm going to butter them, even though they are non-stick, I am going to butter the inside because you know what I'm like. Belt and braces kind of bloke. We're going to divide the mixture between the two tins and just spread it around, fill all the gaps, and use a palette knife to try and smooth the top. And pop them in the oven for 30 minutes initially, and then we'll check if they're done, and they'll need a bit more time if they're not done. Alright, there's our two cakes after 30 minutes. I'll just poke them with a skewer and that comes out dry, so it's cooked. We'll let those cool in the tin for about 5 minutes and then I'll get them out and put them on a wire rack to cool completely. Time to get the cakes out of the tins. And also I'm just going to cut a bit of the top off because it's risen into a dome. And the same with this one. Ingredients for the fudge filling, topping, siding, icing thing. I've got 150 grams of dark chocolate, that's 54% cocoa solids. I've got 150 grams of light brown sugar, like Demerara style sugar. I've got 60 grams of butter and a small can of evaporated milk, that's 170 grams. And also a squeeze, about half a teaspoon probably, of this vanilla bean paste. That's it. Now we need to combine the evaporated milk and the sugar in a saucepan. So just heat it gently, keep stirring till the sugar's all dissolved, and bring it to the boil and let it gently bubble away for 6 minutes without stirring. So we have the chocolate broken into bits, because we want that to melt. This is similar to making a ganache, but we used condensed milk instead of proper cream. No, we didn't. We used evaporated milk. Don't ask me what the difference is. Wikipedia knows. Alright, chocolate's all melted, I think. So now we can add the butter, also chopped into little pieces for purposes of rapid melting. Now I'll add the vanilla. I think we need a new one. Just stir that in. And transfer that to a bowl, cover it with plastic film and set it aside to cool down for about an hour. Now the fudgy ganache stuff is nice and thick. And here's my cakes. They're still quite domed, but well, I don't actually want to cut any more off. So what I'm going to do, I've got these offcuts. I've got some apricot jam, and I'm going to use this to stick those around the edge to try and bring it level. Alright, it's not perfectly level, but it's filled a bit of a gap. Now I'm going to spread the goop quite thickly over the top of this sponge. And then we'll pop the smaller sponge on top. Yeah, and fill this gap as much as possible with the fudgy stuff. I'm going to pop this in the fridge for about 15 minutes, just for the icing to firm up a little bit. Right, so that is a bit firmer. So I'll give the top a coating. Do you know what, I've always admired plasterers who can do things like this, but you know, obviously with plaster, not necessarily chocolate, and get a perfect finish, because I just can't. Anyway, I'll do my best. There we go. So that's not finished. I'm going to put that in the fridge again so that can firm up, and I'll do a final coat on top of that. Hopefully it'll be perfectly smooth. Right, I've just decided to do some buttercream icing, sort of piped around the edge for a bit of contrast in texture and colour. So for that I've got 170 grams of softened butter, I've got 400 grams of icing sugar, confectioner's sugar, 15 grams of cocoa, 100 ml of milk, and maybe half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. You saw me run out of bean paste earlier. And, sorry I forgot, half teaspoon of salt. Which sounds odd, but it's just to cut the extreme sweetness of everything else. I've got the butter in the stand mixer bowl. I'm going to add the icing sugar. Don't dump it all in at once or you get a massive cloud of sugar in your kitchen. And you don't really want that. You know, these very fine powders can explode. I've never managed it, but I've heard about it. Okay. Put the thing in, turn it on. Put the thing on. Just let that go until it's all mixed together. Now we'll add the cocoa, the salt and the vanilla extract. Get those mixed in and then add most of the milk. Just save a bit because you might not need all of it. Now just let it run slowly for about 5-6 minutes till you get the consistency that you want. It should be really smooth. That's done. I didn't use all the milk in the end. And set that aside until you need it. Actually, that can go in the fridge. Alright, more. More. Got an idea. Yeah, I got these cake decorating thingies back in the day when I thought I was going to be the next Mary Berry. So, let's see if we can do some cool grooves. Yeah, baby. Oh yeah, I like that. Now I'm just going to plaster the rest of this on the sides and try and get a nice smooth, thick coating. Come back in a minute. Right, and I'm going to put some zigs and zags on the side. It's always been one of my ambitions to motorise this turntable, but obviously I haven't got round to it. Bits of that are quite good. Right, I'll stick that back in the fridge one final time, and then I'll pipe it with the buttercream stuff that I just made. It's going to be so deadly. So I've got a piping bag and I've got a sort of nozzle. If you're a mega fan of KeefCooks, you'll know piping and cake decoration in general isn't my thing. Buttercream I think is too liquid, so it's not, you know, giving a really sharp defined edge. Okay, so the buttercream was a bit of a fail and the quantity is just insane. I've got a ton left. Yeah, don't know what to do with that. Maybe it'll freeze, who knows. Now, my swirly bit on the top is just desperately crying out for a strawberry or raspberry or something. And I haven't got any, but I've got red chilli, so I'll just whack that in there. And that finishes it perfectly. Chili, by the way, goes really well with dark chocolate. But I don't think we'll be eating that bit. And now, it's taste test time with Mrs. KeefCooks. Come on, hurry up. Cake, there's cake, there's cake.
Oh man. I love chocolate fudge cake. Oh my goodness, that is spectacular. What's with the chili?
It's a placeholder for raspberry.
Okay. So we're not going to watch you eat it or anything?
Nobody's eating that.
Because you're not watching me eat it.
Well, you can eat it.
No, I've heard
You
of
like
chili and
raspberries?
chocolate. Yeah, right. God. I should say so. Excuse us.
Mm.
So this isn't actually death by chocolate, is it?
It could be.
It could be. What a way to carry.
No, it's not. It's
Oh my goodness.
chocolate cake. With chocolate.
And chilli for those who want it. I think it was remiss of you not to obtain proper raspberries.
Well, no, I just thought when I did the crop circle design that I hadn't planned to do, that what it needed was something red in the middle.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. What's the squidgy, edgy stuff?
There.
What? Did you put nuts in it or something? Because it's a different colour from the rest of the icing.
No, on the edge, that, it's buttercream.
Because this needed a bit of
Contrast.
luxury and decadence.
No, just contrast.
Alright.
Yeah.
Well, if we keep the camera running, they can have the pleasure of watching us in total sugar rush mode in about 3 minutes. Feed this to your 2-year-olds. Oh yes.
Don't ever make this.
Oh, goodness gracious me.
Or if you do, don't tell the doctor.
That's just amazing. I love the swirly stuff in it as well.
We like that. Don't we? Thank you for watching, and
Oh, sorry.
see you next time.
Yes.
If we're not dead.
We won't be. No, we'll still be bouncing off the walls this time next week. I like a bit of chocolate, me.
Ooh, you won't believe next week's.
Cliffhanger.